Okay, so I want to make a case today, a case for completely rethinking how we run our businesses. And this isn't based on, folklore or gut feelings. This is based on cold, hard, scientific evidence about what really truly drives us.
So, to kick things off, let's talk about a puzzle. It seems like a simple test of problem solving, right? But what it reveals about human motivation is, well, it's pretty profound. And I'm willing to bet the answer is not what you think it is.
All right, here it is. It's called the candle problem, and it was created way back in 1945 by a psychologist named Carl Dunker. Picture this. You walk into a room, and I give you a candle, a box of thumbtacks, and some matches. Your job is simple. Attach that candle to the wall so the wax doesn't drip on the table. Now, most people, what do? They try to tack the candle directly to the wall. But the real solution, that requires you to overcome something called functional fixedness. You have to see that box not just as a container for the tacks, but as a potential platform for the candle.
Okay, so this classic puzzle became the perfect setup for a really fascinating experiment. A scientist at Princeton, Sam Glucksberg, took this very problem and decided to add a modern businessy twist to see what would happen.
So here's what he did. He split people into two groups. The first group, he just timed them to see how long it took on average, to get a baseline. But the second group got a deal. They were offered cash, and a pretty decent amount too, if they finished in the top 25%. This is your classic if-then reward, right? If you do this, then you get that. It's the kind of thing businesses do all the time.
So here's the million-dollar question, right? How much faster was that second group, the one with the cash incentive? I mean, they had money on the line. They must have just blown the other group out of the water, right?
Not even close. In fact, get this. The group that was offered money took, on average, 3.5 minutes longer to solve the problem. I mean, how crazy is that? This finding just completely flies in the face of everything we think we know about business. Rewards are supposed to make us think sharper, work faster, not slow us down. And that right there is the core finding. The incentive didn't just not work. It actually made things worse. It actively harmed their performance. And before you think, oh, that's just a one-off? Nope. This isn't some fluke. This exact result has been replicated over and over again for more than 40 years. Okay, so does this mean all rewards are bad? Well, not exactly. It's a little more nuanced than that. The key, it turns out, is understanding when they work and when they don't. And it all comes down to the type of problem you're trying to solve. So, Glucksberg, being a good scientist, ran the experiment again, but he made one tiny little change. This time, he put the tacks outside the box, right next to it. See what that does? It basically removes the whole functional fixedness part of the puzzle. The solution is suddenly super obvious. Pin the box to the wall, put the candle in it. Easy. And what happened this time with this simpler, more obvious problem? The group with the cash reward was way faster. So what's going on here? It turns out that rewards are really good at narrowing our focus. That's a huge help when the path forward is clear, like in this easy version. But for a creative problem, like the original candle problem, a narrow focus is terrible. It literally blocks you from seeing the innovative solution that's just out of view. And this distinction is absolutely critical for how we think about work today. Think about it. A lot of 20th century work was algorithmic, right? You just follow a set of rules. Do this, then this, and you get a reward. But so much of 21st century work, it's just a series of candle problems. It's about creative, conceptual thinking. And those are the exact kinds of tasks where those old school if-then rewards don't just fail, they can actually do harm. Which brings us to a pretty alarming conclusion when you think about it. The science is telling us one thing, but what are we doing in business? We're still operating on this old system of carrots and sticks. There is a huge, gaping mismatch between what science knows and what business does. Our entire business operating system, it's fundamentally broken for the kind of work we actually do today. But hey, it's not all bad news. The good news is that science doesn't just leave us with the problem, it also points the way to a solution, a whole new operating system for motivation, one that's built not on those external rewards, but on what really drives us from the inside, our intrinsic motivations. And this new system really rests on three core pillars. The first one is autonomy. That's our deep-seated urge to direct our own lives. The second is mastery. That desire we all have to just get better and better at something that matters. And the third is purpose, the yearning to do what we do in the service of something larger than ourselves. Autonomy, mastery, purpose. These are the real drivers of high performance in the 21st century. And you want a real-world example? Just look at Google. They have this famous policy called 20% time. It's basically a radical experiment in autonomy. For 1 day a week, engineers can work on absolutely anything they want. And the results? They're incredible. In a typical year, about half of Google's new products, we're talking huge things like Gmail and Google News, were born during that 20% time. You know, maybe the ultimate showdown between these two models of motivation was the battle of the encyclopedias. On one side, you had Microsoft and Carta. It was the perfect extrinsic top-down model. Paid professionals, managers, the whole shebang. And on the other side, you had Wikipedia. A completely different beast, right? Built by thousands of volunteers, for free. People who just did it because they enjoyed it, because it gave them a sense of purpose. It was a straight-up battle of the models. And we all know how that story ended, don't we? I mean, think about it. 10 years ago, you couldn't find a single economist who would have predicted that the Wikipedia model could ever work, let alone completely dominate. But it did. It was a total knockout. And it's maybe the best real-world proof we have of the incredible power of intrinsic motivation. So, it's pretty clear, isn't it? It is time to fix this mismatch. It's time to finally drag our businesses into the 21st century and start listening to what the science has been screaming at us for decades. Let's just boil it down. The science is crystal clear on this. First, those if-then rewards, they only work in a super narrow set of circumstances for simple mechanical tasks. Second, when you apply those same rewards to creative work, they often destroy it. And third, the real secret to high performance isn't carrots and sticks. It's that deep, intrinsic drive we all have to do things because they matter. So that's where we're left, with this powerful idea. This mismatch between science and business is real. It's holding us back, but it's fixable. If we can just move past this outdated system that crushes creativity and embrace a new one built on what actually drives us, on autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The only question left is, what could we achieve then? Just think of all the candle problems we could finally solve.